Hello, and welcome to today's podcast recording of Lovingly Guided. I'm your host, Nikki Lee. So, today I actually wanted someone brought something up to me. They were having an issue. They asked this question and wanted my advice, and it was m- along the lines of every time I approach my partner, they just shut down, they don't listen to me, and ha- you know, like every time I keep bringing up an issue, it never get resolves. How do I fix this? It's upsetting me. Uh, the relationship's upsetting. So how do I fix this? So I thought I'd actually talk a little bit about that today, especially coming from a place who, my own place of have been through that with past relationships and kind of also what I've learned in this new beautiful relationship I'm in now. Um, but before we start, I just want to do a quick grounding exercise. So as long as you're not driving, and if you feel comfortable to, close your eyes. We're going to start by taking a few deep breaths in. And just imagine a bright light coming down from the sky. And this light can either be white, purple, pink, gold, whichever color resonates with you. Now imagine it filling every corner of your body, from your fingertips down to your toes. We just want to breathe in all of this beautiful, bright light and this love. Just fill our bodies up. Now imagine it coming through, breaking through every surface of your being. To know you are that light and that love. Feel it coming out of your fingertips, your toes. Let's just stay here for just a couple more seconds. When you're ready to come back, wiggle those fingers, those toes, and let's begin. So, I'm going to start with in the past, I would myself try to bring up something that was bothering me. And most of the time in that relationship, it would escalate and become this massive fight. And then I would drop into this persona of mine of, great, there you go, you brought something up. Why can't you learn to keep your mouth shut? Why can't you learn to be that quiet, good little girl that you've been taught to be? And I would just spiral in that mindset. Because normally what would happen for me is I would never bring something up right away when it was bothering me. I would wait and wait. I'd push it aside, because I was scared to create conflict. So I would never actually say anything until it got to be too much. The resentment had built up, and then I would react to that smallest little thing and kind of explode. And it would turn out to be more of, as I'm trying to express how I would feel, it would come out kind of more blaming, or they were at fault. And in the past too, I used to um like I will admit it, sometimes my ego got the best of me. And so it was almost like I needed to prove that point that they were wrong, and I wanted to be right. I needed them to know that they were in the wrong and I was right, and they needed to do exactly what I said, and that's how it needed to be. Um, which most of the time is not a great approach. And so as I started my own healing journey, the couple relationships I've had since I've started this, I've gotten to be more of I might get triggered or something's bothering me in that moment. And before I approach the situation, I like to take that step back. I like to take the step back and analyze first, see if maybe that action is just maybe triggering an old pattern or response or a persona of mine from the past. And I ask myself, what do I need? What do I need in this moment? What can I do to help me not feel this way? And I'm still by any means, I am still not perfect at this yet. I've had a couple moments in my relationship currently where I have not approached a subject as well as I should have because I was so triggered and so in that moment that I did react, but it has gotten to become so much better than what I used to be. um, but so that taking the step back first, and if you need to, right now I currently can just take the step back and I talk myself through to my head now. Journaling is a great option. Maybe you need to journal it out to help get it out on paper, get your thoughts in order. Even if you're new to kind of, if, for me, because in the past I was so used to not bringing anything up until I would react, scared of that conflict. It also helped me to write down what I kind of wanted to say and read off of almost a script from the beginning, because this way I was in a space while working through it that I could write it out, say what I needed to say, and not necessarily point blame or make that other person feel like maybe they're doing something wrong. And instead just being like, this is the action that you did, this is how it made me feel. And a lot of the times too, it might be, you know, even good to bring up this action is what you did. This is how it made me feel. This is why it made me feel this way. And if it was something like from an old trauma or old trigger, you can say, I felt this because it triggered this inside of me because in the past, this is what happened in these situations. Moving forward, from what I maybe need from you is da 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 to help me not feel this maybe insecure, whatever words you need to put there. Um, that way there's more understanding, and if it's with the right person, they will understand. If you're with the wrong person, no matter, even if you use the I feel method and the not blaming and trying to bring up how you're feeling or you put boundaries in place, and if they continuously to cross those lines, then you will have to decide, one, are these actions, am I willing to let them go, forget, or is it something that bothers me so much that goes against my own boundaries, values, and whatnot? And yes, maybe you might have to either break off from that relationship, or in the case of friends, put some distance for a while. It doesn't mean you don't love that person or care about them or what happens, but sometimes you do have to make that decision. It's not always an easy one, but what is better for your well-being? And especially if someone is willing to constantly, not care or respect not only your feelings or boundaries, then they could just also be a toxic person and someone you might not want to be around anyway. So, but that's going to be up to the person, the scenarios, and the two people involved um, as well. But I've noticed for myself, kind of approaching it more this way has been really beneficial, but really too, the taking that step back, there's been a lot of scenarios already of after I took that my step back, I actually more talked to myself and said, what can I do for myself to not feel this trigger? So I wasn't also relying on my partner to fix or make me feel better. I would take those, you know, I would do the things that I needed to make myself feel better first, and I would take responsibility for my emotions. Most of the time, people are not meaning to hurt feelings, and they're just out living. They might not even realize that maybe an action of theirs is hurting your feelings. So it's not, they're not doing it purposely trying to. And like I said, one, if it is something that's really bothering, bring it up. Most likely they are in a healthy conversational way. We'll end up fixing it. But sometimes I think because of my past experiences, I used to be someone who, because my self-esteem was so low, I didn't love myself. I was looking for so much outside validation and for someone else to complete me and to make me happy. And I would always blame my feelings and emotions on someone else. I wasn't taking accountability for my own self, and I wasn't taking, the actions or even that accountability to make myself feel better and be happy and feel love within myself first. And I think that's also an important part as well. So really just check in with yourself a lot of times too. Is ego coming out? Are you more just trying to have resolve an issue, but is it coming due to really those feelings are hurt, or have you stepped into an ego old persona and are you trying to be right, correct, or even change a person? So always check in with yourself, see what's going on within you first. And because it's a lot better to have that conversation and not just instantly react. It goes a lot better on both parties. They can be calm, both parties can be heard. And that is another thing too, is I now make sure to, because I'm no longer in that ego standpoint, I'm trying to prove I'm right and whatnot. I always make sure to give that other person time to be heard, to listen to their side, that understanding. Almost most of the time, miscommunication is the biggest thing. So once you hear their side along with them hearing yours, normally something can come to an understanding in a much pleasanter way. But I hope oh, my last piece before I sign off today, my last piece too that just popped in my head was, it's also important to know, no matter how much you might want to fix a relationship, it has to be both people. It can't just be one-sided. If you are so badly wanting to fix it and this person doesn't really care, it's never going to work out. Just both parties need to want it. Without that, it at some point will come to an end point. So just keep that in mind as well. And I hope this was useful. It was an interesting topic, and this topic kind of gave me a lot to reflect on just myself and kind of those old patterns I used to have, things I looked within myself, realized, yes, I used to have some toxic traits too. It wasn't always the partner I was with. Worked on healing those sides before, for these new ones and relationships I've been in, and this has been the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. It's the one I'm in right now, and it still hasn't always been easy, because I don't think people talk about that enough. Getting in your first healthy relationship can be difficult, just because so many triggers are coming up. Old patterns want to show up and rear their ugly heads. You're really working on. You can do so much. I didn't realize this either, but you can do so much healing on your own, but it's not until you are with someone else can you truly heal even more. Because as I was by myself, I didn't have, another person's emotions and reactions and all of that to also in a way worry about. And I also didn't have someone else like, not, not that anything they're doing is intentional, but old triggers, like I said, coming up in all of this, old fears, And, one of the biggest things I still struggle with is, and I have to catch myself, and I'm working on rewiring the thought pattern is, when is that other shoe going to drop? It can't be this good. And so I'm really trying to reframe my mind and say, you know, how good can it get? Why can't it keep getting better? Why, instead of the negative, why can't it just keep getting better and better? And so that's one of the biggest things I've been working on currently with myself. But I really hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Um, and then, as always, I love you. And I will say, before, this is a whole nother subject line, but before I truly sign off, I swear, um, I was gonna put, so I did an entire podcast recording the other night, and it was actually gonna be all on energy blocks and how they're formed and how to clear them. And it was the first time I actually wrote down like an entire script and things to say, and I ended up not liking it. It didn't flow as well, and I know even a lot of times when I'm recording, like I fumble, you know, have little periods where I'm like, oh, what was I about to say? But they still seem to flow, and this one didn't seem to flow as well, and it didn't seem like, it almost seemed forced. When most of the time, if I just come on here and record something that either a question someone asked or something I just gone through, it seems to just flow very naturally and be very authentic to me. That one didn't, even though I love to talk about energy and energy blocks, that one didn't, in that moment, feel like it was time, I guess you could say. So I deleted that one, didn't post on time as I normally would have because I'm working on coming back, staying the weekly podcast again, posting once a week. So I'm going to redo that one, and this time around I'm going to redo it, but without notes in front of me, because it seems to go a lot better without notes, surprisingly, even though sometimes it can seem very messy in this sense. But I kind of enjoy this, and I hope you guys do too. But all right, that is it for today. As always, I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend coming up.